Hello, hi, my name is Patrick Foreman, lead producer of YouTube channel Where's the Focus, and we're here on Paint Aloud with our esteemed guest, Sam Kirk, who is a painter, activist, creator, thought-provoking community builder, multicultural disciplinarian, and a multicultural artist. And again, we'd like to welcome Sam Kirk. Welcome, how you doing?
I'm really good. Very
Good to have
good.
you.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, so I mean, I know that was a lot to say in one gulp. It's a lot to take in. But I mean, I definitely, just before we get into anything deep, I mean, as us young people say, we want to know how you started from the bottom and how you're here. So tell us tell us the beginnings, tell us where you come from, your upbringings, what brings you here today, or just a little about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago. So grew up in working class communities, lots of working class communities. We moved a lot. And as an artist, I've always been an artist. It was kind of something that was just what I did growing up as a kid. And as I grew into my many different careers, I worked in advertising for a while, art became something that was more prominent in my life. So it started off with just fine art and painting. And growing up, my dad always had us do random projects around the house that included carpentry. So I naturally had an interest in architecture and studied that in college as well. And in a very organic way, my talents, interests, things I studied just kind of ended up merging together with each other. And now I do everything that you mentioned.
Right, okay, you said multidisciplinary artist. I've never heard of that. What does that mean?
That means the way that I produce my work as an artist is based on the idea as the concept. I don't know what medium I'm going to use to produce my work until I understand what I'm trying to express or what I'm trying to tell as the story. So since I have all of these skills and backgrounds, it can come out as a carpentry project and be something that's more fabrication that I'm using to express. Usually my work aligns a lot with expressing culture, celebrating culture. Or it could be a fine art piece and a painting, or I could merge the two together, which I tend to do often. So multidisciplinary is just to basically make sure that I let people know that I don't just do fine art as a painter, or I just don't do sculpture. It really ranges, and it depends on what I'm trying to express as the idea.
What drove you to begin this process, or to get into your work with HIV and AIDS, or for this as you said, this campaign, for example? What was the driving force? Like, what sprouted? Where did it sprout from?
This campaign in particular, this started because last year I worked with Mount Sinai, their School of Medicine, and every year Mount Sinai celebrates World AIDS Week. And in the past, what they've done is they've worked with a local artist to generate an image that they can use to put on t-shirts or buttons and raise funds to give to a nonprofit. So I did that for them last year, and this year I basically went to them and asked, do you guys want to scale it up a bit? Like, instead of just doing one image, do you really want to create some work that we can really drive awareness with, get the community engaged with, get the organization really engaged with, and give them something that they can use as a tool to market themselves after World AIDS Week is over and after December has, long and passed. And they were all for it. So it was really just asking the question. I mean, it's something that I've been doing with other nonprofits. And I do that because since my work is always about social issues or about community or culture, I was okay with painting that and telling that story and opening the conversation, but what was bothering me or driving me crazy was, aside from opening the conversation, my work wasn't really making much of an impact. So I wanted to figure out how I can still do that kind of work and make an impact. So doing this, working with nonprofits and giving them a piece of work to use while selling the work at the same time. And then I give a part of my proceeds to the nonprofit that I work with every month.
Right.
that's a way that I'm able to still do the work that I love to do and give back to the people that influence it.
How are your messages, for example, for young people especially? We've done a segment on HIV and AIDS for young people, and a lot of them still think, they have a lot of misconceptions of it. So again, my question is, how are your messages getting to specifically young people in communities of color who are potentially affected by
Well, for like this project in specific, we made sure to generate several different concepts and several different ideas that can speak to men and women, youth, and cross the lines of prevention, women that are already infected, making sure that they still feel empowered and still feel like they're equal and part of this community. And then also just overall education. And the process of producing that was one thing, but then putting it into play and making it effective so that everyone can take a look at it, grasp it, and then understand it, we basically set up a few different events. So Monday, to kick off AIDS Week, we had an opening exhibit at East Harlem Cafe. And we did that at the cafe because it's a comfortable space. It's not in a gallery where my work usually is. And in working class communities, a lot of those people don't go to galleries. So it's a choice to put my work in a local space.
And I'm sorry, that's interesting. I want to talk more about that gallery. So continue. East Harlem, Cafe.
So it's a choice to put it in a space where people feel comfortable going to, and it's not intimidating, to make sure that it's easier to talk about that message. The other thing that we're doing is this week we have an event, actually later today, called Viva el Barrio. And that's something that Mount Sinai has done for years, but there was a mural piece that I started working with Smart's art program with the ladies earlier this week. We're taking that piece to this event and asking the people that attend, so community members, youth, adults, to contribute to the piece. So it's our way of putting up, a piece that we've already begun to create that has a lot around AIDS and HIV, but also culture and community, and tying it together and asking, people to participate in helping us add to that. And asking them the questions, like, when you think of this, when you think of World AIDS Week, like, what do you think of? And when you think of culture and community, what do you think of? And the goal with that is to tie it all together to make sure that they're aware that, this is part of what's going on. There are a lot of people in this community that are affected by it, and this is what you need to know.
I'm going to stop you on that note, and we're actually going to get into a roll-in with some of your work you've done earlier with East Harlem Cafe. Check it out.
Kirk. I'm a full-time artist, and I'm here at East Harlem Cafe doing some non-traditional mural painting as part of an initiative that El Barrio Alliance and East Harlem Cafe have put together to kind of integrate the arts into some of the local businesses here. Well, the piece I'm working right now it's kind of a celebration of community, and then we're going to add a little bit of a holiday touch to it. Right next door to the cafe, there's a community garden, and every now and then you'll see the old guys hanging out in there, sometimes playing dominoes. So there will be pieces of it that remind me of the fire hydrants that were open nonstop in the streets, and kind of the water flowing through the streets, and just the culture period. I think, you know, the water that you'll see on the windows that kind of flows throughout the whole piece represents the culture here for me, and how no matter what block you're on, no matter where you're at, or time, as far as when you're in East Harlem, you feel that immersion like around you, and you feel that that soak of culture, like at least for me, I feel it surrounding me. So I think as far as the piece that I'm painting right now, I would, more than anything, I want people to appreciate it. The reason I started working on this project was because I hope that it draws consumers into East Harlem Cafe. I hope it intrigues them enough to come in and see maybe what it looks like from the inside, but also enjoy what the business itself has to offer. I hope people see a story that I'm trying to tell. I hope they recognize that I appreciate what's going on in East Harlem and the culture that lives here, and I hope they relate to it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We just came back from a nice flashback in, what was that, February? That was in February
I believe that was February, yeah, earlier this year.
What a year.
I work with East Harlem Cafe often, actually, and part of the reason I do it has to do with my upbringing. So I grew up in working class neighborhoods, so I really appreciate local businesses. And that's why a lot of my work has been centered around gentrification or the changing landscapes of neighborhoods. So doing that piece was a unique way to draw in customers into the cafe, especially since a lot of times I'll hang my work at the cafe as well. And it's another way to highlight local businesses in the area and help people remember, like, we need to support these people because they add an additional value to the neighborhood that we don't get from a lot of, you know, franchises or more commercialized companies.
Right, and you know, and it's funny, in your biography, I was reading, amazing biography, when you wrote about seeing the changes in your neighborhoods, like growing up on the South Side or growing up in Chicago,
right, and
seeing everything go from, oh man, you have it here, but you know, seeing the whole landscape change from, let's say, like East Harlem Cafe, a deep-rooted, community lounge, I guess, gathering, to seeing it turn into something totally commercial. Right. So I mean, is that essentially, a part of your goal, like you said, with gentrification and putting, your spin on it and showing the origins and keeping and preserving? Yeah,
that's exactly it. I mean, it's a way to celebrate the culture that's there because, in my work, there's a lot of culture that's related to me ethnically and what I appreciate about other ethnicities, but there's also an appreciation for the culture that we build within our communities. And East Harlem, like a lot of other neighborhoods, truly has a culture of its own. And the only way that we continue to have that is if we have local businesses like East Harlem Cafe that exist in our neighborhoods. If we continue to, bring in Starbucks and all of these franchises, we no longer have a culture that we've created by community. It becomes something totally different. And that experience, for me at least, is something that I value highly.
Now, that basically brings up this. This is essentially what the Provoke culture is about.
Yes.
So that's, right there is just the root of it. That's pretty much the foundation of provoking culture. So I mean, with that in mind, using that same technique that you use to to preserve and bring awareness to the community, again, so translating that, let's say, going into Smart Youth and the amazing mural that we saw when we went there, we'll definitely, let everyone get a chance to check that out. But so again, going back into provoke culture, how has the mural or the work with Smart Youth also, using the technique of provoke culture. So again, like for example, when you walk down the street, you'll see the, I don't know, the show about sex. So you'll see all the, I don't know, the new hip hop loving hip hop, but you won't see someone say, "Hey man, let's keep it real and wrap it up," or or that one I saw there saying she would have still been living with AIDS today. There was something. So can you tell us about how's that the provoke culture work with that?
Well, with the work that I've done for SMART, the way that provoke culture ties into it is working with them. What we were focusing on was making sure that we highlighted the women that are involved in SMART. And the women that are involved, a lot of them are part of this community. So you'll see in some of the pieces that were created, our focus is on highlighting those women and what they are to this neighborhood and to this community, and how they should be represented and how they should be respected. Additionally, it's also focusing on women of color, and what should we be celebrating? HIV aside, what should we be celebrating about ourselves as women of color? And it becomes more about empowerment and provoking those women to feel like they can be empowered and be comfortable with who they are and what they are, and still exist in this community.
So on that note, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into our next clip at the Smart Youth and the amazing work that Sam Kirk is currently in production of. Check it out.
Creating a mural for SMART, and basically the mural is to talk about World AIDS Week, but also to celebrate the culture and community of East Harlem, because we'll be having an event on Thursday called Viva el Barrio, and that event will engage the community to help drive awareness around SMART's initiative, and it's also a cultural celebration. So right now we're just working on a mural piece with the art group at SMART to try to get as much done as possible, so that when we have the event on Thursday, we can also engage the community and see if they want to add to what we've already started.
Okay, and we're back. So amazing work. I mean, we were definitely there. I loved it. Can you dive a bit more deeper into some of the work and the messaging and your process and the campaign with the Smart Youth and HIV?
Yeah, well, with SMART, they have an art program that they run on a regular basis that involves the women that they work with and also the youth. And as part of the goal with this project that I take on, it's not just producing my work and making sure that my work gets out there, but it's also trying to make sure people realize, what SMART is actually offering to this community and to the people that are in need of their services. So taking the time to do a large-scale mural, which is something, their art program wouldn't typically do, and produce it there with the women, with their ideas, what their interpretation is of culture and community, and then taking that piece out into the community is, to me, a way to highlight what SMART's doing, and a way to get other people to see what they offer that they might not know of otherwise. Because unless you go to their website, or unless you're handed, some literature or something, you're not really going to know. But if we take this huge piece to like the event that we have tonight, which the community, a lot of people from the community are going to go to, it's another way for us to show like, oh, well, we did this with SMART because SMART offers an art program and they do it every week. And then that gives them another reason to look up SMART or to contact them and see, what else is available.
So with that being said, it sounds, you and Sophia Dawson right now, like head to head, you guys are so alike because, right, she's also helped, primarily put, with the work of other community members and People's Justice, Age Patterson, she really helped put the work in a mural on 138th and 8th, 138th and 8th Avenue, if I'm not mistaken. 139th, anyway, in Harlem.
Yep.
She put together a mural in the procedures of the stop and frisk. And it's a wonderful mural. It's talking about knowing your rights, having them down packed. It's it's very, very creative, where it's showing how a young person is blowing into the horn, letting people know. Yeah. And there's like a hand, like a puppet hand coming down, showing it. Like as she said, it's about controlling how the system is controlling and manipulating. And again, with that being said, and with your work, it just goes so hand in hand with the mural and showing the community. There's a piece there I have vividly remember where it shows the smart building and again the messaging that it has. So I mean, again, I guess the ultimate question is, how, or I don't want this to be a hard one, but how and why aren't we seeing that? Or do you feel that are we getting enough of those though? Again, with your work at Sophia Dolphin, you're both getting out there, but I mean,
well, I think, part of the reason why we're not seeing a lot more of it from the organizations is just funding. Organizations like SMART, they have amazing programs, but the opportunities to really push it out there and let people know in a unique way, just there isn't the funding for it, or there isn't a way to get it out there in a unique way. So fortunately, there's artists like Sophia and I who want to do this kind of work and help organizations like this to get that work out there. For artists, the art industry overall is, it's similar to music and fashion and everything. It's an avenue for you to kind of get famous or to be in some sort of a spotlight. So as an artist, I think we choose what we want our work to represent and what kind of impact we want our work to have. And there's some of us that want to do this kind of work, and making sure that we get paid heavily for it, or making sure that some famous person is buying it isn't as important. And I mean, obviously we need to make a living with what we do, but that's a whole other conversation. But I just think as artists, it's up to us on what we want to do with our work. Do we want to focus on making money and selling stuff, or do we want to focus on opening people's eyes and starting conversations? And if there's the opportunity to do both, great.
I mean, and essentially, that's almost, it's almost again what we here at the Youth Channel, especially Pain Aloud and Youth Channel in general, what we talk about is kind of bringing together two levels of consciousness in a sense, almost close to what you're saying. The disconnected and affected, and the aware and prepared.
Right.
People here who are trying to bring together that or bridge that gap.
Yep.
That gap that's creating maybe the confusion or the static or the misinformation that's out there. So I mean this has been amazing. So I guess on this note, I just have to ask you a nice final question. For I guess two-part question. Well, one, if you could tell us a little bit about tonight's event, a little bit more about tonight's event at Union Settlement, and we'll also talk about getting for our viewers to get more close in contact with you and follow up with you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Well, tonight's event, Viva el Barrio, is an annual event that Mount Sinai puts on, and it's supposed to. It's done to drive awareness around World AIDS Week, and it's kind of the closing event that gets the community involved. And they have food and music, and there will be art for this particular event, since we're bringing the mural into it. But it's mostly, for a lot of people to meet each other, network, have a good time, and then to drive more awareness around SMART and what SMART's doing so that people in the community know about it. And then also, of course, try to raise some funds for the organization as well. Yes. As far as my work, you can find my work. I have like I said, an online retail site called provokeculture.com. And that primarily shows a lot of my work with nonprofits and then some of the prints that I do. My full portfolio is at iamsamkirk.com.
We definitely thank you so very much for coming here. We're definitely going to follow up with you. We're definitely going to be there tonight. We're going to definitely get some coverage, and we'll definitely have our viewers definitely get a good sample, a good taste, a good snippet segment of the event. So also help follow up, and definitely we'll have all the hashtags and all the links so everybody can keep up with us. But thank you so very much for coming.
Yeah,
Sam.
thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Appreciate it.
We thank you all for today, and we definitely want you guys to stay tuned, and we'll be back with more. Take
So thank you very much. We're here to share and eat some good food. Food was good? Yeah. I just want to let you know that this week was a very unique year in us partnering with not only a community-based organization in East Harlem, but with a multidisciplinary artist who helped promote the message.
And I hope we've all learned a thing or two about what is HIV, how is it transmitted, how can we protect ourselves, how can we build up our community. And one of those ways is by supporting community-based organizations just like SMART, who actually provide services for people living with HIV.
I also want to acknowledge and point out Sam Kirk, right over here, who's an artist. She's sort of been an artist in residence in East Harlem for the past week. She has guided the art strategy we had this week. So there are some art pieces that have been designed on behalf of SMART and the message that SMART wants to get out into the community. And everybody's been contributing in various ways, handprints, painting, drawing, so keep it up. So it's now time to dance, right? Yeah.